tuned in yet, but that's okay. Kind of hang tight, wait for them. 9:58, a little bit early, which is fine. Today's October 20th. Holy cats. Hope everybody's doing well out there. The only thing you should see right now is the NinjaTrader platform. I'm muted on that side. Let's do one more reality check. Everybody see the platform and can hear me okay? Just type in a okay or a yes or yeah, actually anything. Any type of acknowledgement will be greatly appreciated. David, awesome. All right, everybody. Bhargav, thank you. Cecilia, Chris. All right, I got to open this up a little bit more. We're going to start exactly on time. We got another minute or so. Hopefully everybody's doing well. Paul from YouTube, good morning. From Killbear again, awesome. Marauder, Robert. Golden Butterfly Traders, love it. Love the name. William, thank you. Busy, good seeing you. Carrie, awesome. All right, we're in good shape today. We're in good shape today. A lot of stuff to talk about, right? Netflix, not Netflix. Well, Netflix for sure, but also Tesla. After the bell earnings today. Could be a big deal. Talk a little bit more about that later. Scalping strategy, good morning, Thomas. Cecilia, I am good, thank you. Appreciate the sentiment. Can't complain. Cannot complain. All right, let's go ahead and let's get started here. It's officially start time, I think. All right, hello and welcome to today's event. My name is Jim Cagnina and I am the Senior Education Training Specialist for the NinjaTrader platform. We're primarily focused on futures trading today. Futures and options on futures are not suitable for all traders and investors. Oftentimes in futures trading, you have a large combination of leverage and volatility. And although that could be an equation for opportunity, it's also an equation for risk. Be careful, only fund your futures trading account with risk capital. I understand everybody is unique and different in this world. And so risk capital is going to mean something maybe different, a little bit different to you than it means to me. But my personal definition, money I could afford to lose, doesn't change my lifestyle, doesn't lengthen my retirement horizon, doesn't overly anger Mrs. Cags. And that third part is not tongue in cheek because I stress in life matters. When we're under stress, we make bad decisions. So keep that in mind. Easy on the day trade leverage, even though I'm sure you can get some really good day trade margins throughout the futures trading world. Just be careful with that. Any questions on risk or anything like that, or margins and how that all that stuff works? Just type them in the chat box, and we will pick them up as we go. I'm going to be using the NinjaTrader platform today. I'm logged into the software in simulated live mode with the real-time data feed. All right, go ahead and lower that. Let's take a look. I mean, first of all, I just want to start with the daily chart here. We've got E-mini S&P. I mean, man, oh man, what a roller coaster ride this has been. I can't even draw a Fibonacci line anymore because we're already retraced and moving upward. We're in bull market mode here the last, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days. We're approaching our all-time high, 45.50. We're almost to our all-time high of 45. And driving, somebody yesterday said, we're going to hit this by Friday. And I was a little skeptical yesterday. I don't know how skeptical I am anymore. In any event, we will see some more volatility in the next few days. A lot of earnings are coming out, especially in the NASDAQ. We could pivot over to NASDAQ daily. I believe I have it on here, yeah. NASDAQ daily, not quite as impressive of a run right now, but we'll see what happens with earnings. And again, we're not too far off from the all-time high up here around 700. So let's see what happens here. My bias is bullish all across the board, keeping in mind that there are a bunch of earnings coming out, specifically the ones that I'm interested in here: Tesla, IBM, Anthem, Verizon, Next Era, Abbott Labs, Biogen, PPG Industries, Lam Research, and CXZ. So keep an eye on those today, which can cause some unusual volatility. but that's okay. This is good. This is why we have a 10-minute candle chart up, right? To kind of look at what the candles are telling us to do and decide what to do based on the candles and based on their indicators. So ES right now, kind of weird volume profile, right? We have kind of a double distribution. We have two different competing points of control. One a lot lower. The official one is, I don't know, what's that? Let me just get my crosshairs back out. The official point of control is around 17, right? We're a couple of handles above that. The one earlier in the morning, it was the competing one is 44.11, about 8 handles below that. So those are two areas of interest to me, especially since this lower point of control here corresponds with the bottom of the value area. So you can see this kind of double distribution, right? It looks like two mountains turned sideways, if you think of that, with a divot in the middle, which represents market weakness. The dotted lines here, the hashtags, the green, that's yesterday's high. And then the purple, I don't know if you can see it, it is purple, is yesterday's close. So that's kind of, I want to keep my eye on what happened yesterday as well as today as we kind of continue on this journey going forward. So, but I am bullish, so I'm looking for areas to buy. I'm looking for places of interest. And, one thing to consider is if depending on your account size and your risk tolerance, the micro E-mini S&Ps are also an attractive alternative to be able to scale in and scale out of positions. Today, we're going to be patient here, and I really want to see kind of a drive back down below or to the point of control right now. And we're going to wait for one more candle to kind of work its way out before we start thinking about order entries. But really, the point of control is looking pretty good for me right now. CCI is positive, but it's kind of sloping downward now, right? A lot of the initial momentum is kind of slowing. We're sloping down. We're still above 100. And I'm not too worried right now. It looks like it's slowing up. The moving average cross is diverging a lot, right? The fast is way above the slow. 6 is way above the 26. Again, that's kind of a bullish idea. And now that I think of it, maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea to get an order in right now. And I'm going to change this order up in a minute. But right now, I'm just going to keep it at yesterday's close for now. And I'm just going to go ahead and right click, and I'm going to set an order into buy a limit. Again, real-time practice account sim mode today. Busy's point of control is still 45.11. Well, let's take a look at how I have my settings. I'm going to go right click, and I'm going to click on indicators, and I am going to open up my order flow volume profile. Now, Busy, you're using NinjaTrader software, right? And then I have set up calculate on each tick. Make sure you have that set up on each tick. That way it'll update. The point of control will move within that 10-minute period, a bar sometimes, if depending on what's happening, as opposed to having it set at bar on close. Then nothing changes until the new bar comes up, right? You got to wait 10 minutes. So on each tick, and then I got the ES, not the micro ES. I have the ES, and then I have my ticks per level set at 1. So if you follow that setup, you should have the same look and feel as I got. For whatever reason, it should be the exact same. But, it's really close. And you could it's almost irrelevant which one's actually the point of control at this point, because this has 9,200 contracts. And then the other level down here has got 9,019. The difference is only 200 contracts. So it's not material, is what I'm trying to say, I guess. Is exactly what I will say. It's not material. So this is what the profile is looking like, and I think the trade idea right now is still a good one. And we're going to be patient here. Again, after this candle, I'm probably going to move this entry up above, up into the area here where was yesterday's high. But and we almost touched it on this candle. We didn't quite touch it on this candle right now. So that's kind of it. I'm a little bit nervous to actually go into the NASDAQ, but I'm going to go into the micros to make it a little bit more. Yeah. So keep in mind. All right. So here's the thing about the ES versus the MES. They're really the same market, right? The basis is the same. The underlying components is the same. But there's different volume in both of those markets, right? There's different volume in both of those markets. So you could see some volume differences when you compare the two side by side. Generally speaking, the pricing is the same. I mean, just look at right here, MES is trading at 22 even, ES is trading at 22 even. These things are, since it's the same market in essence, fundamentals, pricing is going to be the same. So yeah, it might be off a tick here and there for moments, but arbitrage folks come in and systems folks come in and keep it tight, and it's another good reason to have those folks around. So, but generally speaking, Busy, your profile should look pretty much like this. It should look pretty much like this. Let's shoot over to the micro NASDAQ and see what kind of opportunities await us there. Again, this is going to be a little bit more volatile today based on earnings well, that's it based on earnings. So you can see here we've this will be a good place for a Fibonacci drawing probably. So if we go to low to high, you're going to see let's do it. Let's just do it, and then I'll tell you what I'm seeing. Fibonacci. Let's go low. I'm just going to go low to high right now. Low to high. And we're going to see, we dipped all the way back down, way past the 61.8%, but we didn't close below it, right? So that's a good thing. We didn't close below it. From an order entry point of view, this is not this would not be an unusual place to enter, and probably even a better place would have been, woulda, coulda, shoulda, right? Past performance not indicative of future results would have been at the bottom of the value area because we would have picked it off, but who's to know? So again, I think the 61.8 might be a good place to start. For a unit. Let's do it. And then maybe consider a second unit right below that, at the top of, prices below value, and see what happens. Now, this wick here, a lot of times these wicks do get challenged, right? I wouldn't be surprised if that wick gets challenged. Let's go ahead and add a second unit here. And then be patient. This is a pretty decent size red candle. The 9:50 to 10 o'clock candle. It's kind of a dominant candle, right? Bigger than anything else around. And it's kind of telling us, hey, we had a lot of sellers pop in at that particular point in time. But, we're kind of driving back up to the point of control right now. So I feel good about that. And we'll kind of see, the CCI is negative, but it's kind of sloping up a little bit. Moving average cross is converging a little bit. Again, these are lagging indicators, right? So the CCI so it's going to lag and it's going to kind of follow the pattern of the chart, but you can get an idea for velocity and for movement and stuff like that. So with CCI at minus 70 and not really shooting down to minus 200, I'm kind of optimistic about our trade idea here with the micros. If you're using a big size contract, same thing. Oh man, did I ask how everyone's doing today? Okay, so Bree says, hey, Jim, I can't really see your numbers. What number is your limit buy price? Well, let's start from the micro NASDAQ. And let me maybe make it a little bit bigger. Well, here, we'll make it a lot of bit bigger. How do you like them apples? Okay, so we made it a lot of it bigger. Hang on, let me kind of stretch it out a little bit. All right, so you could kind of, on the right-hand side, you can see these labels here, right? So one of the labels is right at the 61.8, give or take, and that's in the light blue, the aqua blue, if you want to call it. It's 394 3/4. The lower one is 388 3/4. And again, I'm trying to line those up with points of interest, right? Points of interest being areas where I think attracts buyers and sellers. Let's shoot over to the ES so I can give you that number exactly. And again, we're going to do some, remember, hold your control key down on your keyboard and you could move your chart and position it however you want. And I don't even have a fib line drawn here because we're just making highs. We're just making highs. So we're way far away here. 45.15 1/4. So this is not a realistic trade idea at this point. given the fact that I want to do something within the next hour. So I'm going to move this up to the top of the value area. I'm just going to click on it, drag it to the top of the value area, and place it again. So that's cancels and replaces that order. So if we were in the order book of the CME group, it would what I just did, the order book of the CME group would have saw the original order was canceled and a new order was placed at 45.18 3/4. That's canceled and replaced. That's what that means. And really, things do happen that well. Randall, thanks for asking. I'm doing good today. I feel pretty good today. No complaints. Went on my walk this morning. The dog wouldn't get up. The dog would not get up. I had to walk by myself. And so that's all right. It turned out good. We had fun. But that little bit of exercise got me going, so I'm okay. There's no place to sell yet. I'm not, there's no area of resistance yet to whatsoever. We have a series of higher lows, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, a series of higher highs all the way up on the E-mini S&P. And right now, until we see some sort of area of what I'm going to call resistance, going short right now, in my mind, is not a great idea. It's almost like, when the market is breaking down and falling apart, they say don't try to catch a falling knife. Well, this is kind of the opposite of that, right? This is an opposite. Don't try to stop a rocket ship from launching, and that's what we're seeing right now. So let's be patient. We got nothing but time. And nothing but time. Let's go back over to, I don't know why it always does that. It always kind of moves things around on me here. So NASI is still looking strong also with a little bit more volatility. My first unit here didn't quite make it. Let's go ahead and do a 50% retracement kind of reality check here against the volume profile. A lot of volume here in the middle of the profile. And at yesterday's close here in the purple. So I'm going to add another unit of 50%. CCI now is positive, but barely. It's just kind of floating around there right now. We're going to be patient, see if we could pick up one or two. We're right back to the point of control. It's like magic, right? Look at, I'm going to put my cursor on the point of control. Every single candle except for one traded through that point of control since the 820 to 830 bar candle. Every single one except this one outlier. And that's kind of the power of the point of control sometimes. It doesn't always work that way. But a lot of times it does. Robert's shooting for that 4540 number in the ES. Yeah, that I think would be an all-time high, right? Shoot, let's just toggle back. It's going to mess up my formatting again. I should really have two charts side by side. Oh, yeah, actually, we're going to see that better in a daily chart. Where's my daily chart at? There's my NASI. Let's shoot over to the ES. And yeah, that 4540 all-time high. And that's a psychological thing, right? Could it be a psychological? All right, so let me pose this question. Is this a psychological thing, or is the market just too big? Are the fundamentals and technicals just too big to be impacted by some psychological phenomenon as an even number or an all-time high? We talked about it yesterday a little bit with Griffin, and he feels it is a psychological thing that could affect behavior in the marketplace. I don't know. I don't know, honestly, if the idea that we can make all-time highs in 17 handles is enough to push us up 17 handles. Don't forget, there's a lot of sophistication going on here too with the technical analysis tools, with the underlying relationship to each individual stock component that makes up the E-mini S&P 500. Right. So there's all these stock components that make this up, that develop this calculation, to develop what the ES stock index number is, what the fair value is. And, I don't know if that's enough. Now, if we're, trading at 45.39.5, I'm going to say, well, yeah, there's definitely, there could be some added buyers on there, but we're still 18, 17 handles or points away. So do I think we're going to make all-time high soon? Yeah. Is it going to be today? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. In any event, we don't need to know, right? We don't really need to know because we're looking at a 10-minute behavior right now. And let's peek that up a little bit. And here's where we're at. So our order now is, everything's changed a little bit, right? The volume profile has changed right now. The transition between the top of the value area and prices above value is now at 19.25. And we're a little bit south of that. So again, I wouldn't be hesitant to kind of move it up a little bit, especially given the fact, let's take a look at these candles here. You know, we have the last 1, 2, 3 candles. We have some wicks down here. And like I said, wicks sometimes get attacked. But now we're starting to develop an area of interest right now. And I'm just going to draw a rectangle really quickly. And I'm just going to keep it a little bit lower than I usually do, just so I don't clutter things up. But we'll see if we can get a peek in into this rectangle that I'm drawing right now. See if we could establish some little short-term area of support. Let's make this easier to see so it's not quite so obnoxious. And we're going to make the outline just one. Hit apply and OK. Right click on the NinjaTrader software does miracles, by the way. And so how this should really look, my rectangle should really look like this. So we'll see what happens with this candle. We'll see if we can get a test back into that rectangle, see if we could pick up a contract and then figure out what the best risk management policy would be for that for a position there. You know, now that I'm looking at this a little bit more, this is relatively aggressive, I think, even though you're saying, wait a sec, you're 6 handles from getting filled. What do you mean aggressive? Well, you know, we have a lot of areas of interest here with yesterday's high, yesterday's close, point of control, back down to 11 and all that stuff. So let's keep that in mind. Oh, so Robert is an advocate for being short at the all-time high, 45.50. So you're not afraid of, sounds like, Robert, you're not afraid of euphoria pushing us, you know, once we get that all-time high and then momentum keep moving, going to an area of, I don't know, let's say 45.50. You know, who knows where it can go. So you can certainly do let's do a projection. Let's see if this is a projection. So we don't really have, we can't even do a Fibonacci projection. Really. I guess we could if we go further back. The question is, how far do we want to go back to do the projection? Because look at this, it's going. So I'm going to go back to, the previous low here, which was in July. And, you know, so it would be A, B, C. Those are the 3 points we would use for the projection or expansion, depending on what your software says. This is expansion. So we're going to click once, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to get that that information. And, you know, right now, again, I'm going to go to properties. We're going to change. I'm going to keep the 71 in there, but it's going to be 78.6. 78.6. I think that's a better fib number. Hit OK. Okay. So now what this is saying is the idea anyway between these projections or expansions is, hey, once, you know, these are targets, right? Here, the 100% target now is at 82. Right, we're above the 78.6. We're way above the 61.8, and so, you know, traders would use this kind of expansion thing. And this is a daily chart, so this would be a longer-term investment idea. And say, if you were long right now, here's my target, 45.82. Right, there's my target, 45. If I'm just going by this particular type of technical analysis alone, you know, and it's an interesting charting technique, but it's, again, areas of interest. The more areas of interest you have, I think the better off, more information that you have to make your decisions and where you put your entries, exits, and stops. So the all-time high here. Antoine, no, I just drew a line. All I did was I just I know that this was the high, right? I know it was September 3rd, and I just drew a horizontal line. That's all I did. There's no magic here. I just I went to a horizontal line and then just clicked right there, and it drew this horizontal line all the way across. That's all. No big deal. Nice inverted head and shoulders. Yeah, but from a day trading point of view, I want to see, wow, look at this. This is just pretty amazingly strong here. Can't really do an expansion either because you need 3 points. So if you were going low to high, there's not a third point down. So we're gonna leave it the way it is. We're not gonna add it here. Let's see. We'll be patient. Let's shoot over to NASI for a second. We've kind of ignored that. Again, we're wow, still couldn't pick up a unit. We're above prices of value. We're right above yesterday's high. CCI now, look at how steep the CCI is. This is pretty positive. And we went from minus 100 to we crossed the zero line quickly. We crossed the 100 line quickly, and we're still moving up. And so this is really a really nice slope, suggesting really strong upward momentum right now. Let's see if it slows down or not. From a area of resistance point of view, we could do the same thing with the rectangle, which I always do, is try to identify, where have we closed? What area have we closed into? What area haven't we not closed into? And this is kind of what I'm looking for right now. And I'm going to make this my default one of these days, so we don't have to keep changing it every time. And we'll do that 2 to 1. And there we go. So again, if you're going short, we want to, at least one more candle to decide if we could, if we're going to close into my rectangle or not. If we do close into my rectangle, then you got to wait another candle and you got to move your rectangle up a little bit. So if my, hang on a second. So I remember, so Jorge asked why 78.6. So when you draw a fib, this 78.6 right here is not a Fibonacci number, right? Remember, it's based on the golden, the Fibonacci sequence, right? The golden ratio. And, once you do the sequence, you write out the sequence, 0, 1, 1, and so on and so forth. You keep adding these numbers, right? 0 plus 1 is 1, 1 plus 1 is 2, 2 plus 1 is 3, 3 plus 2 is 5, 5 plus 3 is 8, 8 plus 5 is 13. You get this sequence. And when you start dividing things, you get these ratios that keep coming up, right? And 23.6 is one of those ratios that keeps coming up. 38.2 is one of those ratios that keep coming up. 61.8 is one of those ratios that keep coming up. 50% is just added as a middle line, and it has a self-fulfilling prophecy. Everyone adds it, right? So it's there, but it's not part of the Fibonacci sequence. It's not part of the ratios, right? When you start dividing these numbers out in the sequence, you're dividing these numbers and you're getting these ratios magically as you go and divide these numbers amongst each other. And 61.8 is one of those ratios. 76.4 was added for symmetry, right? Because it's only 23.6 away from 100. It's only 23.6 away from 100. So it's not really part of the sequence, right? So I kind of rely on that less. And the other thing, keep in mind, is if we close, below the 61.8, I don't think it's a retracement anymore. I think it's a change of direction. Right. So the whole idea in my mind of being able to use the Fibonacci as a retracement tool is kind of out the window when you start closing below the 61.8. So 78.6, as I recall, is the other is a true, as I recall, is a true number in the sequence. And that's why I just changed it. But again, it's really not a very important number to me. I mean, I think it's kind of the opposite. I think, retracement is over. It's time to pop in there. Ryder says it's a GAN level. Gann analysis. Griffin stop at 26. So I'm assuming you're long, which is well, 26 in the ES, right, Griffin? I'm missing your. I think you're in a good spot. All right, so yeah, we're just making new highs. We're driving. We are driving, making new highs. CCI again is over almost to 200, very strong. Moving average cross is diverging, very strong across the board. Griffin's moved to stop up to 26. So long at 21 would have been right where my crosshairs is right now. It's an interesting entry. Was it a breakout entry, Griffin, out of curiosity? And then your stop is up here now. So you're 5 handles into it, which is sweet. Okay, so he did. Very interesting. Now, the other thing to keep in mind here is the volume profile right now. From a volume point of view, we only have 358,000 in the ES. That's not a huge number. That's not a huge number. In the NQ, we have 323,000. So we almost have as much volume in the micro Nasdaq as we have in the classic E-mini S&P, which is, all eyes are on the ES because of the earnings today. Yeah, and it's a tough day to do that. It's a tough day to just to pull the trigger because you think you're right, even though you are right. Again, short sellers, forget about it. I mean, you're the idea that, hey, right here, hey, market can't go any higher, I'm going to get short. Right here, market can't go any higher, I'm going to get short. Market can't get any higher, I'm going to go short. That idea is out the window. I mean, that's just not a good strategy, right? That's not a good strategy because it could go higher, right? It could go lower, it could go higher, it could do all sorts of stuff. So, I talked to a lot of folks during the day and they're like, well, I just think this is overbought. It's like, well, why? Well, we had 6 days in a row where the market was up. Okay, so, but today's another day, reset. Yields are still pretty low. I think we need some substantive movement in yields before investors are going to be shooting over into the fixed income, the fixed income side of their investments, right? Let's see if I could pull up my yield information. Bear with me a second, because I think I can. I should have been prepared for this very event. Just using the Wall Street Journal. So, this is 1.637. It's still a lot higher than, the 1.49 we were at not too long ago. Let me just turn this into a 3-month. But this isn't yield that's going to excite anybody, right? So, this idea that money managers are shifting over in some substantive way from equities and alternatives and other types of investment vehicles into fixed income for long-term investments I think this has got a lot of room to move. It's got a lot of room to move, and 1.6% is not exciting anybody. Anyway. Cecilia asked a great question, which I have a kind of a weak answer to. Her question is, why do you prefer time candles versus ticks? Well, because it's what I'm used to. I mean, it's what, so, we talk about developing a strategy that works for you, keeping it simple, but it's unique to you. Everybody's unique. Everyone's using different things. Some people are using Bollinger Bands, Keltner channels, MACDs, all sorts of stuff. And in my world, I want to keep it simple. And I've never really gotten into I've never really got my mind around how to use a tick chart, which you could do with NinjaTrader very easily, and it's very awesome. But it's not something that I ever became able to kind of master over longer periods of time. So, and again, that's me. I don't want to talk smack about tick charts because they're a perfectly good tool to use, and a lot of folks use them. But sometimes in my mind, it gets a little gimmicky, and I don't know. That's just me. But if it works for you, it works for you, and my hat's off to you if it does. Making new highs. This is just a crazy strong market. Crazy strong market. Not looking to buy. I am not looking. As a matter of fact, if I'm sorry, I'm not looking to sell. If I'm interested in anything, it's a breakout trade. As we drive closer. I mean, maybe we do get to that, 10 more handles, right? Maybe we do get to, our psychological, area up here at 40, at 30, just to be exact, I'll just kind of put the stat on the candle, 45.40. Right now we're only, 10 handles away. So now it's even more likely that we can get to it, and maybe even today. So, Cecilia, the more you're around me, the more you'll hear me say, I'm not really good at that. I don't know how it works, but I want to be, I don't want to be the guy who pretends they know everything, because nobody does. And then when people start pretending they know everything, they don't know everything. So that's just based on my old age and my many years of being in this business. And I've seen a lot of folks come and go on the education side. Keep it simple, be patient. That's what we're trying to do here. It's really tough to, at 9 o'clock after the horses are let out of the barn, to get in a position today, in a day like today. All right, so monster reversal in crude. My guess is because the crude oil number just came out. Let's take a peek. Remember, there's 4 minutes ago, 4 minutes ago, the weekly supply inventory report that's published by the EIA, the Energy Information Administration, is released, and it's a market mover, right? It's a market mover. So I don't know what that report said. I don't know what the number is, but this candle is it, right? So this candle, high to low, it's almost a buck, which is almost $1,000 per contract, which is pretty good. Let's see if I have the micro on here. So the micro, let's talk about this. So, we're boom, yesterday's close, yesterday's high. If you're bullish this market, which I am, I think we could drive up a lot higher than we are. The micros are it's a good market to scale into, right? So, if we were paying attention before this all started, maybe we would be able to scale in a little bit better if we feel like this rally is going to continue. And look at that, CCI 375. Holy wowza. That's a pretty big, pretty spicy meatball right there on the MCL. And remember, this is a 100-barrel contract instead of a 1,000-barrel contract, right? So it's a lot smaller. Each tick's worth $1, and instead of $10. And it's just like all the other micros that are issued by the CME group. And really, what the micros represents to me is the ability to, allow just about anybody to be able to participate in a regulated, transparent, benchmark market. And when you talk about crude oil, this is the West Texas Intermediary light sweet crude, right? It has a specific API density. It has a specific sweetness. The sulfur content is specific, and it's it's preferred because it's easier to distill or manufacture, convert into gasoline, right? So this is mostly a U.S. based type of crude, and it's an international benchmark. And there's other types, right? There's the Brent blend, which is the North Sea area. It's also a light sweet crude, but not quite as sweet as the WTI that we're looking at right here in this particular market. And then there's the Dubai is the third really big one, and that's a sour crude, right? That has different chemical constituencies, and it's a little bit harder to process into low sulfur types of fuels. In any event, more information probably that you needed. But NinjaTrader, great call on that. We probably should have been paying attention there, because we probably could have experienced. Next time we know, next Wednesday. This is every Wednesday they issue this report, right? The EIA issues this report, and it is a market mover. There's not that much information There's an API report that's issued the night before. You got to pay for it by the American petroleum industry. There's the rig counts, Baker Hughes rig counts, which counts the amount of rigs that are active. That's released on Friday. And then you got OPEC Plus doing stuff every once in a while that can kind of trigger price action in this particular market. We should probably do a whole webinar on micro crude oil, by the way. Griffin says, I've been told for years you can't make simple moving averages work. All the time they've been working for me for years. LOL. I like that comment. When you get our age, you know less every day. You're so right. The older you get, the less you know. The new thing I learned today might be the same new thing I learned yesterday. Well, yeah, I hear you. Anyway, micro crude right now. Let's see what the next candle brings us before we pivot back over to the other markets, which are rallying. You can see here on the E-mini S&P, the high right here is 32.25. We're only 5 ticks away from the high right now, and we'll see if there's any level of resistance on the chart in a second. But let's just wait real quickly here for one more candle here on the micro crude oil contract to see if anything happens. King asked a question. King Victor Zach. Did I say that right? King Victor Zach. 10-minute chart. Why not a 5-minute chart? There's all sorts of different time frames you could use on your analysis when you're actually with the, NinjaTrader software makes it easy. You could even customize your own time frame if you want. But here's the standard ones here: minutes, seconds, range, ticks, volume, day, week, month, year. My preference is the 10-minute because I'm looking for a trade opportunity that's going to last an hour or less, right? Because we only have that time together. We only have an hour or less together. And so I want to look for that opportunity within that time frame. And that's why I use that kind of analysis. Some folks will have, a chart side by side. It's really easy to do. I mean, I'm just going to right click here and just go to duplicate the window. It's going to duplicate the chart. I'm going to switch this over to 5-minute. But in a 5-minute time, oops, why is it gold? I messed that up. Sorry, guys. In a 5-minute time analysis, I'm looking for a 30-minute trade. I have a multiple of 6 in my head, right? And this is just based on my experience, and it's unique to me. But if I have an hour chart, then I have a 6-hour horizon. And that's not a hard rule. That's kind of a flexible rule, but that's how I look at it, right? 10 minutes. What's going to happen in the next hour? Let me look at these candles to see what's shaking. So, but anyway, the NinjaTrader software, a lot of people use multi-time frame analysis. Nothing wrong with that. And I just kind of showed you how easy it is to actually duplicate a chart. Just right click on the menu and boom, you're good to go. And you could just then change your time frame. You don't have to reset up all the indicators on a new chart. It's really slick. Griffin says his next line is the old high, 45.50. Let's kind of just move that down. All right, we have a new bar. This is a strong rally. Nothing to do here. I'm going to kind of go, let's go back over to the NASI, see what that's doing. Let's kind of get that positioned here. Wow. Okay, so remember that rectangle I drew a long time ago, it seems like? I'm going to move it up because, we've actually closed into it. A couple of this candle and that candle closed in there. I moved it up again. And now I'm saying, okay, this is an area possibly of resistance, right? So, maybe if I'm considering going short here, we have enough information to suggest maybe we hit that high. But, again, we're also hitting the 23.6. So if I'm bullish, an idea would be, hey, I want to buy off the 23.6, right? I want to buy off the 23.6. And, let's take a look at the other candles around there. Sorry about that. And, below here, below where my crosshairs is, we have an awful lot of white space all the way down to our original entry. And then I'm going to draw another rectangle here. I'm just going to duplicate copy that, paste it. I'm going to drag it down here. And I'm going to kind of identify now another area here. So this is, again, a target. So Bullish folks are going to be like, I'm buying at 23. I want to get my second unit in where I had it, although now that I'm looking at where the second unit is, things have changed, right? It's no longer the point of control. It's no longer, it is the Fibonacci lines are still wacky because you got to change this and move that up a little bit higher. So you could adjust your entries up higher if if you're bullish a little bit. So we're now that I've done that, now that I've made the in play adjustment, we're literally south of the 23.6. So next step is 38.2 in my mind. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cancel and replace this order, move it up to 38.2. I try to, again, I'm trying to get closer and closer to an entry point, but I'm willing for the market to relax a little bit. I'm willing for sellers to have their 5 minutes of fame. Was it 5 minutes of fame or 1 day of fame? How much fame do you get once in a lifetime? I can't remember. So we're going to keep that there. So the easiest way to kind of change a market, let me just show you. I'm going to duplicate the window again. So if I want, if you just double click in this where your symbol is in the upper left, and you just type in your symbol, MLC, you'll get a little menu of options. And then you're able to just click on whichever one you're interested in, and it'll double click on it, and it'll automatically populates in the correct front month. So if you don't see it there, just kind of double click, type in your symbol, and you should get that menu. Now, another thing to consider here is, I'm looking at a fib actually, is we could do a contemporary fib, low to high, right? So let's do that. I'm going to delete this one for now. And then I'm going to add a second one. And I don't care what happened earlier before the open, right? I'm going to set that information aside for a second. And I'm going to go this low to this high, and I'm going to see what the fib line tells me now. Because I'm not the only person who just did that, right? There's all sorts of folks who just drew the fib just the way I drew it. And now you could see our first entry here is at the, right north of the 50%, a little bit north of the point of control. Now we're trading back into the value area. And, this area of resistance is held pretty well, right? So maybe now we're going to have a regular distribution day. Who knows? So from a day trading point of view, right click, let's throw an order in to sell a contract at the 23.6 right there. And our stop's going to be, obviously, we're going to have to be above my rectangle, unfortunately, which is, it's a micro, so it's not that bad. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that in. So that would be the stop up there. And down here, we would be 1, 2, 3. We'd have 3 units down here. So I'm going to go below my rectangle again. And I'm going to do a sell stop, right? In the event that I do get filled on those 3 down there. And I'm going to change this to a 3 lot. So this is kind of the anatomy of a trade right now that I'm looking for going forward here in the next half hour or so. And, I wouldn't mind going long, my short exposure, just a little bit, just 1 micro for now. And we'll see how that kind of goes as we go. And we're just going to hang tight. Why is everybody saying 15-minute? 15-minute, 15-minute, 15-minute. Someone clue me in. Someone clue me in. All right, so we are, what time is it right now? We got to get another candle. We're going to get another candle in 3 more minutes. So I'm interested to see how this behavior kind of plays out right now. Oh, 15 minutes busy, thank you. 15 minutes of fame, right? Okay, so I only get 10 minutes of fame. I'm sorry, this was a long time ago. Yeah, don't sell yourself short, no pun intended. Thanks, busy. No, I know. It's, drink a lot of water, walk the dog every day, you'll be good. Yeah, sorry about that, Christopher. I'm slow in my my chat capabilities. I have two chats running. I have the YouTube chat and I have the Zoom chat. The only one I don't have is the Facebook chat. But that's probably beyond my area of expertise right now. So now I draw the low from the start of the trend to the end of the trend. So when I started here at the bottom, we had three candles, and I said, hey, the trend is up now, right? So the start of the trend it was here, and the end of the trend is here. If it was opposite, I would have done the opposite. But when I drew my fib, start to finish, you kind of just, that's how I do it. And the 100% is always at the start of the trend, right? It's at the bottom of the fib line. When you click, and then you go up to the top, you get to the zero click, because what you're measuring is retracement, right? So when the market, you went all the way up here to 446.75, then we retraced back down, right? We're still in a bullish mode, but we reached, the first level of retracement, it's called, was 23.6. The second is 38. So the numbers get bigger as you go back down. That's all. That's why that's how I do it. You could have gone high to low, and it would have been the opposite, right? You'd see 76.4 up here and 23.6 down below. But so you start it at the start of the trend, and you end it at the top of the trend. That's how you draw it. Yeah, so that's another great point that was just brought up. MCL is great for swing trading. The overnight margin is $561. Remember, overnight margin is set by the exchange. It's not set by any individual brokerage firm, right? So, or any individual FCM. Now, the FCMs could decide to make it bigger than what the exchange is requiring. Most don't. But $561 is set by the exchange. So if you wanted to have one, you could hold a micro contract, for, it's easy with a smaller sized account, because that's that's what your margin requirement is for overnight for that. That's a great observation. And that's one of the great things about the micros. If you're swing trading or holding positions for a long period of time, remember your day trade margin is definitely is 1/10 the size. So you have that ability to scale in, scale out, and hold positions for a longer period of time if you have if your account is capitalized with a smaller amount of money. And it goes to my original statement that this is the rise of retail trading. We're in this. This is the golden age for this. The electronic platforms are great. Data is great. The micros, open up the door for just about anybody to be able to participate in these markets. Terrence says Facebook is changing their name, is the rumor. What are they changing it to? Okay, so we picked up a unit. We're short one right now. And let me see here. Let me just change my crosshairs to a pointer. This label here shows us where we're short from, right? And let's kind of open this up a little bit more to kind of make us see it a little bit better. Stretch it up a little bit. This label is where we're short from, right? 431 even. And then the P&L moves around in real time, right? This is mark to market, real time. P&L. It's in points, right? Or handles, right? 4.5 handles, 5 handles. That's how that works. And it's not part of you can't move it. This is just fixed on the chart right here, because I have chart trader turned on. And then here are my orders waiting in the wings. So from a take profit point of view, depending on what your strategy is here, my stop is pretty high up right now. Probably way too high up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and move this down to the bottom of my rectangle. And then I'm gonna put a profit target in around the 38.2. And then that would be a pretty decent trade. Risk reward ratio looks good. The candles are in sync, because I do think we're going to get some fulfillment here on the previous wick. right? And we're well within that previous wick. Let me move it over here so you can see what I'm saying. So we're well within this previous wick for our target. This is relatively conservative, but if you can get 9 or 10 ticks out of it, especially if you're using the big ones, then that's a good trade, right? I just had one unit. I could have done multiple units, but that's kind of how I'm feeling about this right now. And again, we could be more patient and say, you know what, I want to get a stop back down to the point of control that Jim is bragging about all the time. So that's more conservative. More aggressive exit would be down by that point of control. But right now, this is kind of given the fact that we haven't been really focusing too much on the short side, that this would have been a decent move. So it turned out to be okay. Don't forget, I want to cancel the stop now. It's no longer any good, right? It's no longer any good. So, well, it could be good again. If you decided, hey, I want to try that again. I want to sell at the top of the value area again, because these markets move around a lot, right? And then I'm going to drag that back up to above the rectangle. So that's kind of being a little bit more proactive and trying to get a second trade idea in. In the meantime, as we go down here to the point of control, we're going to capture a unit if we are lucky. Move that over here so we can see it better. Anyway. Yeah, so now, right, when you're absolutely right. When you're in bull market, you're going to go low to high. When the trend is down, you're going to go high to low. So as an example, let's see if I could find an example here. So let's say that, forget about, let's just say here's the downward move here. So in this particular case, what I would do if we didn't make new highs, I'm just going to go, high, which is right here, to low. And you can see my 100% now is at the top. Well, you can't really see it because I'm in the shaded area, but I will go high to low to capture this area and say, okay, this is a retracement back up. We got over the 38 and it turned out to be a good signal. Doesn't always work that way, but it did. So you're exactly right on your synopsis there. Thank you, Griffin, for that. So we're in a micro. Remember, each micros are 1/10 the size, right? So each point is worth $2 in a micro for the mini NASDAQ, E-mini NASDAQ micro. If you're doing the bigger size contract, it's a $20 point, right? And it's it's traded in quarters, right? So it's traded in quarters. And so, 15,431 and a quarter to 15,431 and a half. That's one tick. It's a quarter point. That's worth 50 cents per micro. Okay. So again, the whole benefit of micros is you could scale in, scale out, especially given the volatility of that particular market. And end up with a position that could be a fraction of a bigger size contract. So as an example, and the trade idea we have going here, if we get all three of these units, we will be long 3 micro contracts or 30% of a big contract. So then that $2 tick point turns into a $6 point. Does it make sense? And again, this depends on what your risk reward ratio is, how big your account's capitalized, for sure. And as we're getting into our buy zone right now, I'm going to take a peek where we're at here. So right at the point of control, above 50, I like that. This one's a little bit, the second unit though, we might want to look at and fine tune that entry a little bit. We're a little bit in no man's land because we're right by that underneath the 61.8. So I'd probably want to move that up a little bit higher. Okay, we got one unit right now. And then this lower one here, remember, we wanted to get into our rectangle here. We want this to be attacked a little bit more, which is fine. So I'm going to leave it alone and see what happens from here. So now we're long one. This is color-coded green. Our P&L now we're losing 1.5. Unrealized is moving around here like that. And that's okay. We're just going to wait and see what happens here. Now we're down 3, now we're down 4. It's going to change, right? It's mark to market. It's unrealized P&L, mark to market, and we're moving down to try to get our second unit. And then once we get our second unit, everything's doubled, right? Everything is doubled. Now, this idea is out the window now. We don't need that stop. Oops. Sorry about that. We don't need that stop. Very interesting. We don't need that stop. There we go. And then our original target, our original entry idea on the short side could become our profit target, right? If we thought there was a reasonable opportunity for this to be hit, then why wouldn't we think it's a reasonable opportunity for it to get hit still, right? So we're going to leave that there. And then we're just going to be patient here and see what happens. Now, I'm kind of working in a news vacuum. So I do recommend you have some sort of news source going, you know, whether it's the Bloomberg and whether it's, you know, if you have Hulu and you subscribe to live TV and Hulu, you can get Bloomberg and you get all the news channels. That's what I do. I have my tweet deck set up with, and I track certain people along with certain news organizations, data organizations to keep me abreast of what's going on. And, you know, the candle itself is going to tell you a story, but it's always good to have any additional information, right? So we know what's happening today, right? So, you know, scheduled release was MBA mortgage applications. It was pretty weak, actually. It was pretty weak for new homes as well as refinance. Petroleum, we talked about, happened while we were in midstream. And then the Fed beige book is kind of important. That's not till 2 o'clock Eastern time. And that's a twice quarterly report on the state of the economy, basically. So that's coming up soon. And then we talked about earnings already. So that was on my cheat sheet this morning. So these are things that are planned, right? But we don't know things that are unplanned, right? President of the United States decided to say something or do something. And then, that wasn't necessarily planned. It could impact the markets. Geopolitical events could impact the markets. So all sorts of stuff could happen. We have 2 units now in the micro. It's 11 o'clock. I'm going to stick around for a little bit longer just to see what happens here. I'm going to talk about how to manage this particular trade later. You know, on the downside, it's clear and present, right? We have a situation where we're trying to pick up our 3rd unit into my rectangle, you know, and see if we can take advantage, exploit this big wick down and see if the market decides that's a good idea. And then we have our stop loss. The target right now, we have one unit of the 2 that's covered from a target point of view. And I would suggest that I want to do the opposite that I'm doing here on the buy and adding a second target in my rectangle at the top. So it looks something like that. And I'm just going to kind of take a peek on how that looks on the volume profile. It looks pretty good because there's still some meat there. There's still some volume there. CCI is negative, but not crazy negative. And that's how I would probably consider managing this trade going forward. We can't sit here all day. Unfortunately, I would love to. I got other stuff to do. I think we're doing an indicator. I think it's an indicator webinar next, about 2 hours. Let me tell you if that's actually true or not. And since I'm doing it, you would think I would know. Yeah, so top 5 indicator. I'm going to talk in detail about all these indicators that I'm using here. So if you go back to that NinjaTrader website, you'll be able to register for that event or get a link for that event, however it works. And we're going to talk about volume profile, oscillators, moving average crosses, Fibonacci, all that stuff in maybe more detail than any human being would want to learn about it. But we're going to talk it out. So that's at 12 o'clock Eastern time. And I will be running that show. So again, each point's worth $1, right? And you can see it moving around in unrealized P&L. You know, I'm sorry, we're in the mini NASDAQ. So each point is worth $2. And, you know, and each tick is worth 50 cents. So it would be $2 times, you know, that particular number. But I have 2 contracts on, so everything's doubled. So that's per contract information I just gave you. But it'll be doubled because there's 2 contracts, right? So instead of $2 a point, now it's $4 a point. right? Because we have 2 contracts on, everything's doubled, $4 a point. So when we're at, you know, and again, it's the real unrealized PL is going to look a little different because my entry points were at different prices, right? Entry points at different prices. We're getting close now down to that. There we go. So now my average price has moved down. I got 3 contracts. My average price is right here. And then now each tick is worth, instead of $2, each point is worth $6, right? Multiply by 3, right? Now this is the test of this is we'll see if the strategy is a good one. Let's see if the strategy is a bad one. We're giving ourselves a lot of leeway here on the downside, right? A lot of leeway here on the downside. We have 2 of the 3 targets established, and you know the question is, you know, where do we put the 3rd target? Should we not get stopped out, right? We might get stopped out. Who knows? This rectangle now is going to have to change because we're trading it down into it. And my guess is we're going to close into it. We still got 7-8 minutes left. Actually, I shouldn't have done that. That was premature. I'm going to leave that back up. So as soon as the candle closes in the rectangle, that's when I move it down. That's when I say, no, the area of support and resistance is different. Now that candle closed into it. Well, this candle might not close into it. We don't know. We still have 7 minutes left. We're going to stick around. I know we're in overtime, and I appreciate everybody's patience here, but I just want to see what happens in the next 6 minutes because this is exciting. We're in a position now. You know, it's micros, but micros add up. I mean, look, we're already, you know, over minus $100. You know, I don't know. It would have been a lot worse if it were a classic one, right? It would have been 10 times worse. So let's just hang tight and see what happens here on this trade idea. Oh, and Bitcoin just hit 66,000 a coin. Don't forget, though, there's something that's driving this Bitcoin thing right now, and that's literally, you know, ProShares now has a new ETF, which was released yesterday, and ProShares Bitcoin ETF is investing in CME Group Bitcoin futures. Right. So I think they had about, I don't know if they had $1 billion of investment money come into that exchange traded fund, managed fund. Wildly successful from their point of view, given the fact they have a 1% management fee on it. But it's all right, 95 basis points, a little bit less than 1%. Sorry, I read the prospectus because that's what it, you know, that's how boring my life is. But you know, so there's a lot of buying going on. There's a lot of upward pressure going on because of, you know, the futures is the underlying instrument there, right? And you could trade the micro Bitcoin pretty nicely here on the NinjaTrader platform if you're interested in trading Bitcoin without management fees. And again, since it's a micro, the margin, overnight margin, is less, and you could hold it longer. Thank you. Okay, so yeah, my NinjaTrader folks are reminding me we're in 4 more minutes, guys. Let's just see what happens here, and I'll give you some trade idea, final management tips here as we go. Okay, Fadeca. I'm done for the day. 10 points, 1 trade now, time to relax. So that's a great attitude. I like that attitude, right? Because what's going to happen next is, if it were me, I don't know about you, if it were me, I would be riding high on my confidence level. I would be overly excited, and I would want to place another trade thinking I'm invincible, and I would give it all back. So the idea that you had 10 points in a trade, it's time to relax, take a break, turn off the machine, go get Starbucks, whatever you do on the side, is a great, great philosophy. I love it. See traders staying away from Bitcoin. All right, as we're waiting here, we got 3 more. I'm going to stick around for the other candle. I have an observation or 2 to make, but not until that other candle is done. So let's just see what happens here. In the meantime, I do want to remind you, trading futures, options on futures involves substantial risk of loss, not suitable for all traders and investors. Oftentimes in futures trading, you have a high combination of leverage and volatility. And although that's an equation for opportunity, also equation for risk. Be careful. Don't overcapitalize your account. Don't over margin your trades. Be in a good spot. And then hopefully, all else equal, you have a good experience. Terry, thank you. Got to go. No worries. I just want to see one more candle here to see if we're on the right track. We got 3 more minutes here. So we could fill the time with, I hope everybody has a great day. I hope it's sunny and beautiful wherever you're at. The leaves are going to start changing colors throughout the United States pretty soon as we enter fall. Griffin is acknowledging the fact that he's staying away from Bitcoin. So Todd Deca says, I take 1 to 2 trades a day. If first trade is a winner, I'm done. In max times, I'll trade 3 trades. 3 strikes and you're out. I hear you. I don't agree with the 1% risk on the trade, but that's just, I have a different philosophy on that. The way I would say it is there's only a handful of really good opportunities per market a day, right? And so you got to be patient, wait for those opportunities, develop your strategy and engage. Maybe that's 1 trade, maybe it's 2, maybe it's 3. But that patience, I think, is key right now. And we have buyers coming in this candle like crazy right now. We had to sweat it out a little bit. We're almost out of my rectangle right now. We got 1 more minute. Let's see if we can close in it or out of it. And then some final comments on the trade idea, and we'll go from there. ES is still relatively strong here. Let's see. There's the ES. Where's the high? High is 32. We're trading 26. Up 15. Volume's low. 464,000 is low. A low volume day. NASI's almost as micro NASI's almost as big. All right, Alex. We'll pivot over. Okay, so we're going to pivot over here. Let's get 1 more candle here. Then we'll end up. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about this situation we're in right now. Then we're going to pivot back over to the ES, and then we're going to end it. And I apologize for going over time. I know I got to get another thing going pretty quickly here. But that's the way it is. What else do I have to do today? Nothing. NinjaTrader, yeah. So all the I have those on the bottom of my quote board: corn and oats and soybeans, soy meal, wheat. Those are all really still awesome markets here. I'm tracking them. Okay, so wow, look at that. That's a doji for all dojis. I mean, that's a serious looking doji. Let's kind of open it up a little bit. So this candle right here, the one that just closed, is a doji. The open and close prices were the exact same. We have a really big wick on the bottom, or shadow, if you want to call them a shadow. It depends how old fashioned you are. We have a really big wick on top. Buyers came in, pushed this thing all the way back. We still haven't closed into my rectangle. This next candle, though, has a lower high. So it's lower high, lower high, lower high. We're not out of the woods yet on this trade idea. Lower low, lower low, lower low. We're really not out of the woods yet, so you got to kind of watch it. But if you wanted to tighten up your stop a little bit, I wouldn't hold it against you, but I wouldn't put it much. I wouldn't put it into the rectangle. And then from a profit target point of view, depends on how conservative, aggressive you are. But again, I would use the fib line right now, this one we just made, and kind of look at where is that in relationship to the volume pro. A lot of meat and potatoes here in the value area, so I think we're in good shape there from that point of view. Okay, so that's how it end that. Let's shoot over to the ES. One last comment on the ES. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be any more aggressive than this is right now. I would kind of wait, see if we can get in that rectangle and pick it up. On the short side, maybe there's opportunities there. In any event, all right, we're past our time here again. Thanks again for everybody. And just a reminder, take care out there and be good to each other.